In the autumn of 1977, 3 years into my marriage with my husband Liang Tingxing, his young and beautiful sister-in-law, Gu Ying, showed up at our door with a child in desperate need of care. Sympathizing with Gu Ying's plight as a widow struggling to raise a child, Liang Tingxing felt duty-bound to give half of his salary to support her. When Gu Ying mentioned wanting a well-paid, easy job, Liang Tingxing, eager to solve her problem, gave her my job instead. Everyone said Liang Tingxing was a good man, always ready to help others. I just smiled without a word. I knew exactly why Liang Tingxing was helping Gu Ying, because the other person on his marriage certificate wasn't me, it was Gu Ying, and the child Gu Ying brought wasn't Liang Tingxing's brother's, it was his and Gu Ying's loved child. In my past life, I slaved away without complaint, helping Liang Tingxing take care of Gu Ying and that child. The truth only dawned on me when Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying showed up with their child to claim the inheritance and threw me out, leaving me with nothing. Such good fortune will never come my way in this lifetime. I'll step aside and let Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying have their perfect, happy little family reunion. Later, on the very day I received my university acceptance letter and was preparing to leave, Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying's dirty little secret was exposed. 1. The transition from death to rebirth was too sudden. I haven't adjusted yet, staring somewhat bewildered at the familiar period architecture and slogans before me. But, didn't I already die? How am I seeing all this stuff from the 70s and 80s? Am I dreaming? The factory guard, seeing me standing there dumbstruck at the main gate, called out to me, "Here to see Engineer Liang again, he's gone to the station to pick someone up." I heard it's his late brother's widow. My brother's widow, huh? Just a flimsy excuse from that shameless pair. In my past life, Liang Tingxing and I shared 50 years of deep affection, the very picture of a model couple in the eyes of others. We weathered 50 years of life storms together, and I always believed Liang Tingxing loved me as deeply as I loved him. But on the day Liang Tingxing passed away from his illness, his brother's widow, Gu Ying, showed up at my door with their grown child and a marriage certificate proving she was his wife. I, who had lived as his wife for 5 decades, was suddenly reduced to a mere mistress and a nanny in the eyes of the world. All of Liang Tingxing's estate was claimed by his legal wife, Gu Ying, and their son, leaving me to face nothing but endless ridicule, blame, and scorn. Unable to accept this outcome, I coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed. To my astonishment, when I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the very day Liang Tingxing brought Gu Ying and her son home, in my past life. After Liang Tingxing brought them home, he explained to me that he was just helping to care for his best friend's widow. I trusted Liang Tingxing completely and never doubted him for a second. Liang Tingxing said that Gu Ying and her son, being new in town, needed money to get settled, so he gave them all the hard-earned savings we had put aside, for them to buy furniture and set up their home. He also regularly gave them our household's ration coupons for meat, cloth, and grain. All the neighbors and colleagues around us said Liang Tingxing was a good man of deep loyalty and principle. Kept in the dark, I believed the same all along. I was completely fooled by that heartless scoundrel, Liang Tingxing, and ended up handing over all the hard-earned money I had saved to Gu Ying and her child for them to live in comfort. I even gave up my job for him. Then, after the national college entrance exams were reinstated, as I was preparing to take them, Liang Tingxing manipulated me with his talk of repaying a debt of gratitude, and I ended up writing Gu Ying's name on my own exam paper. Gu Ying used my exam scores to get into university. After graduation, she was assigned to a highly coveted position at a state-owned enterprise, and me, because of Liang Tingxing's empty promise to provide for me, I was left at home, toiling away at chores and acting as a nanny for Gu Ying and Liang Tingxing's illegitimate child, wasting my entire life. Those two bastards, Liang Xing and Gu Ying, covered their tracks perfectly. They never gave the slightest hint. I was such a fool. I never suspected a thing. If Liang Xing hadn't had that stroke and kicked the bucket first, I probably would have gone to my grave never knowing how cruel the truth was. The memories are suffocatingly painful. Anticipating what was about to happen, I turned and broke into a run, heading for the home I shared with Liang Tingxing, gasping for breath. I returned to our home, rushed into the bedroom, and flung open the money box. I scooped up all the hard-saved cash, grain coupons, cloth coupons, shoe coupons, and meat ration tickets, stuffing them all into my own pockets. If Liang Tingxing wants to furnish a home for Gu Ying and her son, let him go borrow the money himself. He won't get another single thing from me. 2. I went to the post office and sent half of the money, meat coupons, and grain ration tickets I had to my parents. Then I took the remaining cloth ration tickets to the supply and marketing cooperative and exchanged them for 4 sets of clothes, and used the shoe coupons to get 2 pairs of shoes. Afterwards, I went to a restaurant on the street and used some meat and grain coupons to treat myself to a hearty, authentic, and completely natural pork rib feast, with my stomach full and my thirst quenched. I finally picked up my purchases and began the leisurely stroll home. I was still a fair distance from home when Liang Tingxing came hurrying over from the opposite direction. Spotting the numerous bags in my hands, Liang Tingxing quickened his pace to meet me. "Jianing, have you been shopping?" I gave a nod and held up the bags containing clothes and shoes for him to see. I haven't bought any new clothes or shoes in 3 years, so I finally used the fabric and shoe ration coupons I'd been saving up to get myself a few new outfits and a couple pairs of shoes. Ever since I married Liangxing, I've lived frugally, always putting him and his family first, even if it meant shortchanging myself, using the household's ration coupons to buy clothes and shoes for myself without even mentioning it first clearly put Liangxing in a bad mood. I looked at him cautiously and asked, "Liangxing, are you upset with me?" Liang Tingxing was obviously displeased, but now was not the time to dwell on that. He forced a stiff, awkward smile. "That's good, Jianing. There's something I need to discuss with you. I have something to tell you, too," I said, cutting him off before he could continue. "I've been married to you for 3 years and haven't sent a single penny home. My parents are struggling, they're getting older and need the money. So, I sent them all my saved wages, along with the food and meat ration coupons." "What?" Liang Tingxing's voice rose sharply, his expression contorted with fury. "That was money we'd painstakingly saved for 3 whole years. Liang Tingxing had a decent salary, and I was frugal, so we'd managed to put away over 1,000. Now, not a single cent remained. You can imagine how much that scumbag's heart must have been aching." I looked at Liang Tingxing with an innocent expression. "Are you angry?" "Tingxing, please don't be mad. It's all my fault. I know I was wrong. I won't act on my own again." Liang Tingxing's expression was grim, but there was nothing he could say. What was done. I could only manage a faint, tight smile. "I'm not angry, just don't ever take matters into your own hands like this again. You have to tell me first." I nodded repeatedly, but inside, a cold sneer was forming. "There won't be a next time. Liang Tingxing, this is the last time, from now on. You and Guing, that despicable pair, just you wait and see. The humiliation I suffered in my past life, I will make you pay for it in this one." The thought crossed my mind, and I asked Liang Tingxing, "By the way, what was it you wanted to tell me?" "Well, Jianing, it's like this. One of my closest friends, the one surnamed Zhao, he passed away 3 years ago. Remember, he was my best friend, and on his deathbed, he asked me to look after his wife and son, so," I nodded with understanding. "Helping others is a wonderful thing. I support you completely." Seeing that I was on his side, Liang Tingxing let out a sigh of relief, but then what I said next made his expression darken again in an instant. "Part of your monthly salary goes to your parents, part goes to household expenses, and now you also have to support your brother's widow. Do you really think it's enough?" Seeing the grim look on Liang Tingxing's face, I added another blow. "When we got married, we agreed on this. My parents are getting old and life isn't easy for them. I have to support them, and my younger brother is still in university, so my salary has to be sent back home for them. So, Tingxing, from now on, supporting this family will all be on you." Liang Tingxing fell silent. In my past life, I pinched every penny until it screamed, sacrificing my own comfort just to save his pride, so he felt perfectly justified in using our money to support his parents, Guing, and the child they had together. I wore the same set of clothes for 3 years, patched upon patches, while Guing had a constant rotation of new outfits for every season. I subsisted on pickles and dried radish with plain rice porridge, growing pale and gaunt, while Guing and Liang Ting's child ate fine rice and flour, growing plump and rosy-cheeked with snacks to spare. In my past life, I was a fool, too blind to see the truth of human nature or see through the lies. I deserved to be used and deceived. Given a second chance at life, I'm no longer that foolish Yan Jianing. Liang Tingxing wants to use me as his workhorse. He's living in a dream. 3. After returning home with Liang Tingxing, I made a token visit to the house next door where he had settled Guing and her son. After a brief, obligatory greeting, I made an excuse about needing to buy groceries and cook dinner, and made my escape, unlike my previous life. I didn't prepare a lavish feast of meat and fish to welcome Guing and her son. Instead, I just made a pot of cornmeal porridge, stir-fried some greens, and served pickled radish strips. After quickly throwing the meal together, I hollered for Liang Tingxing and Guing to come eat. Liang Tingxing and Guing came in one after the other, carrying their child. Liang Tingxing was covered in dust. In my past life, I was the one who tirelessly cleaned the house he had prepared for Guing. He and Guing just stood by and did nothing the whole time, while I scrubbed and mopped until my back was killing me. This time, I made my exit on the pretext of cooking, leaving Liang Tingxing to fend for his wife and son. You can imagine how miserable it must have been for Liang Tingxing, who had never lifted a finger to do housework in his life. The two of them walked in expecting a feast. But Gu Ying's face fell the moment she saw the cornmeal porridge and stir-fried greens with dried radish I served. "Is this what we're having for dinner?" I put on an apologetic look and said, "Sorry, I got there too late and this was all that was left. Let's make do with it for today. Tomorrow, I'll have Tingxing get something proper to treat you and your son." Gu Ying's mouth was notoriously picky in her past life. There was no way she'd stoop to eating cornmeal porridge. She took great offense and stormed off without a shred of courtesy. Liang Tingxing looked at the dishes on the table and sighed. "Jianing, using this to entertain a guest is just too." I spread my hands, feigning innocence. "I'd love to serve better food, but we're out of money, grain coupons, and meat coupons." I was too embarrassed to admit we're broke in front of Comrade Gu, so I just said they were sold out. "Why don't you go borrow some money to buy more? I can cook again." Liang Tingxing didn't go borrow any. Money wasn't so easy to come by these days. He was completely worn out from helping Guing clean her place until now. "Jianing," he said, "Gu Ying's apartment isn't quite finished. Maybe you could." I shut him down right away. I just threw my back out. "It's killing me. I can't do any work. I had to grit my teeth just to make dinner. I'm even thinking of calling in sick tomorrow." After I turned him down, Liang Tingxing left with a look of utter disappointment on his face. In my past life, nothing scared me more than seeing that disappointed look on Liang Tingxing's face. I loved him, and he always came first in everything. Liang Tingxing thought I'd be a pushover like in my past life, taking on all the work for him and Gu Ying's family. He's got another think coming. Since Liang Tingxing and Guing won't eat the cornmeal or the dried vegetables and radishes, I packed it all away. I'll serve it to them again tomorrow morning, without me here to dutifully scrub, clean, and make the bed for Guing. Liang Tingxing will just have to keep doing the housework himself. Liang Tingxing is an engineer at his company, working in an office. Ever since we got married, all the housework has fallen on me. He couldn't handle being thrown into such heavy, manual labor all of a sudden. Liang Tingxing didn't scrub and mop the floors like I did in my previous life. He just gave the house where Guing and her son were staying a quick, cursory clean and called it a day. After I finished tidying up, I tiptoed over to eavesdrop by the wall and, sure enough, heard Gu Ying's voice grumbling. "Is that it? The room is still filthy, there's no wardrobe or dresser, and the bedding is all old. How are Xiao Bao and I supposed to live here?" Liang Tingxing had a short fuse, his voice gruff and impatient. "What's the problem with this? If everyone else can stay here, why can't you?" "It's not that I can't stay, it's just, why is it different now? It wasn't like this before." Gu Ying's words sent a jolt through me. What did she mean? It wasn't like this before. What was Guing referring to with before? Exhausted. Liang Tingxing didn't catch Gu Ying's last remark and snapped back irritably. "What's the difference? You were perfectly fine living over there. I told you not to come, but you insisted. Since you're here, you'll just have to put up with it." Seeing Liang Tingxing's bad attitude, Guing forced a smile. "I was just worried you'd miss your son. A boy needs his father. Living with his real dad makes him smarter." "Shut up," Liang Tingxing hissed, lowering his voice. "You can't say things like that out loud. Do you have a death wish? But there's no one else here." "I only said it because it's just the two of us. I'll remember not to say it outside." "But Tingxing, why won't you buy new furniture for me and little Bao? I don't matter so much, but little Bao is your own flesh and blood. How can you bear to make him suffer with all these old, worn-out things?" Liang Tingxing was silent for a moment before replying. "I don't have the money." "How can you not have the money? Didn't you save up over 1,000? Liang Tingxing looked at Guing. "What $1,000 dollars? How do you know I've saved over $1,000? Guing gave an awkward laugh. "I guessed. Your salary isn't low, and Yang Jianning's is decent too. You've been married for 3 years, you must have saved up a fair bit." "Right, saved up. Saved up what? There are endless expenses at home, my parents, you, And the baby, you're all like vampires, constantly draining me for money, let me tell you. You're the one who insisted on coming here. Don't start complaining about how hard life is now, times have changed. I didn't listen any further, I turned around and went back home. As I walked, I kept turning over Guing and Liang Tingxing's conversation in my mind. Guing had said things were different now, she even knew about the over 1,000 yuan Liang Tingxing and I had saved up. How did she find out? Could it be that Guing was also reborn? 6. I was already in bed when Liangxing came home. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep, and didn't acknowledge him. Liangxing wrapped his arms around me from behind and whispered gently, Jianing, let's have a baby. Marrying Liangxing and bearing his child was the dream of my past life. For 50 years of marriage, I was never able to conceive. In that era, a woman who couldn't bear children was destined to be seen as inferior. I think the main reason I followed Liang Tingxing so submissively in my past life, obeying his every word, was because I couldn't have children. Yet, Liang Tingxing didn't treat me poorly because of my infertility. On the surface, Liang Tingxing treated me decently. He would even stand up for me when his mother pointed her finger in my face and cursed me as a barren hen. So I thought Liang Tingxing truly cared for me. So I took Liang Tingxing's care for Guing and her child as a sign of his kind-hearted nature. When I was being worn down by Liang Tingxing's mother, I once suggested we break up. Liang Tingxing said he would never leave me, that he didn't need children, having me was enough. I believed Liang Tingxing's words, so moved that I vowed I would go through fire and water for him without a second thought. Yet it was all a lie. Liang Tingxing had long since married Guing behind my back and had a child of his own. Remembering the agony and despair I felt in my past life when I learned the truth, I pushed away Liang Tingxing's wandering hands. I'm not feeling well, I said. Let's just go to sleep. I had never refused Liang Tingxing in this matter before. This was the first time. I could feel Liang Tingxing's astonished gaze fixed on my back. I couldn't be bothered with what Liang Tingxing was thinking. I pulled the blanket tighter, put a good arm's length of distance between us, and tried to go back to sleep. Suddenly, Gu Ying's scream pierced the air from outside. Liang Tingxing scrambled out of bed and dashed out the door, not even stopping to put on his shoes. Liang Tingxing didn't come back that night. I didn't bother to check. It was no secret he was probably off somewhere with Guing, tangled up in the sheets. The next morning, I woke up to find Liang Tingxing sitting in the living room with a face like thunder. I yawned and asked, "What's for breakfast?" "We didn't finish the cornmeal porridge from last night, should we just have that?" Liang Tingxing suddenly stood up and kicked a chair, sending it clattering across the floor. I turned to look at him. "Who got on your wrong side?" Liang Tingxing asked me with a face like thunder. "Yang Jianing, you slept so soundly even though I didn't come home all night. What else was I supposed to do? I have work today. I can't just stay up all night waiting for you, can I? Do you even care about me at all?" What's gotten into him? In 2 lifetimes, Liang Tingxing has never asked such a thing. Just because he went to comfort Guing in the middle of the night, am I supposed to chase after him like I did in my past life? I shot back, "Do you really need to ask if you're in my heart?" In her past life, Yang Jianing's world revolved entirely around Liang Tingxing. She fretted over whether he was cold or hungry, and would agonize for ages over the reason behind a single frown. The Yang Jianing of that past life was a fool, and she got what she deserved. That's why she suffered such a soul-crushing betrayal. But the Yang Jianing of this life won't be that foolish anymore. Devoid of any emotion, I went to heat up the cornmeal porridge. Seeing my cold indifference, Liang Tingxing slammed the door and left. Now that he's gone, I don't need to bother with the food. I'll just pack up and get ready to leave. Unexpectedly, Guing showed up holding her son, a bag of steaming buns and soy milk in hand. She looked at me with a sly grin and a sideways glance. "Sis, you're eating this for breakfast." Tingxing really has no idea how to take care of people. He bought buns, fried dough sticks, and soy milk for me and little Bao, but he's letting you eat this slop. 7. The provocation in Gu Ying's eyes was crystal clear. Without a single wasted word, I snatched the steamed bun and soy milk right out of her hands, unwrapped them, and started eating. I kept eating as I walked out. Guing hadn't expected me to pull a move like that. Fuming with rage, she chased after me. "Give me back my breakfast. My Tingxing paid for this. Why on earth should I give it to you? Tingxing bought these specifically for me and Xiaobao. There's none for you." "I don't believe that for a second. I'm Liang Tingxing's wife. What kind of sense does it make for him to buy food for you but not for me?" I raised my voice and shouted. The morning street was full of people on their way to work, and they all stopped to watch the drama unfold. With a look of utter grievance, I continued my tirade. Shouldn't a friend's wife know her place? You called him away last night and he didn't come home, and now he's buying you breakfast buns and soy milk. In the 3 years I've been married to Liang Tingxing, I've never gotten that kind of treatment. Let's ask everyone here to judge. If Tingxing paid for this food, why can you eat it and I can't? Gu Ying's face flushed crimson as she stammered. I pressed on. If you wanted steamed buns and Liang Tingxing bought them for you, then just eat them. Everyone knows my Liang Tingxing is a kind-hearted soul who loves helping others. But you can't just come flaunting those buns in my face, insulting me by implying that my cornmeal porridge is pig slop, can you? As my loud voice rang out. A wave of murmurs and comments rippled through the crowd. What kind of person is she? Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Is it even human to eat buns and soy milk bought by someone else's husband and then come boast about it to his wife, a widow with a child coming to rely on Engineer Liang? What on earth is going on here? Who knows? These days, even brothers keep strict accounts with each other. No one's exactly rolling in money, let alone in a position to take in outsiders. Exactly, you come seeking shelter, and then you have the nerve to badmouth and bully your hosts. What kind of sense does that make? It's all because Xiao Yang is too nice and easygoing. If it were me, and my husband dared bring some woman of questionable background home, I'd slap him right out the door. Amidst the buzzing gossip, Gu Ying's face stiffened, and she slammed the door shut with a bang. I gave a wry smile, grabbed my steamed buns and soy milk, and headed to the office while eating my breakfast on the go. With so many people having witnessed my argument with Gu Ying, the neighborhood gossips all gathered around me during lunch, trying to fish for the details. I told them the whole story, leaving nothing out. Tingxing said she's the wife of his best friend. The poor thing lost her husband and came to him for help, dragging her child along. Comrade Gu is used to a pampered life and can't stomach coarse food, so my Tingxing, out of pity, buys her breakfast. Oh, and at night, he even stays with her because she's afraid of being alone. My Tingxing is just such a good-hearted man. The way the gossip mongers looked at me changed completely. Their eyes were filled with a mix of pity and something more suggestive. I knew it wouldn't be long before the whole neighborhood was buzzing about Liang Tingxing buying breakfast for the widow and her kid, and even keeping her company in the dead of night. I can't wait. After work, I did my usual routine of grabbing a big meal out before slowly making my way home. From a distance, I saw Gu Ying holding her child and looking around. When she saw me coming back empty-handed, her face looked like she'd just eaten something disgusting. Yang Jianing is back too, isn't she? My heart sank, but I kept a look of confusion on my face. Comrade Gu, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Stop pretending, you must have come back, otherwise you wouldn't have done something like this. Gu Ying glared at me with pure malice. But it wasn't like this in our past life. You didn't send all your money home to your parents, you didn't serve me such awful food, and you certainly wouldn't have said those things in public to ruin Liang Tingxing's and my reputation. So, Yang Jianing, you've come back too, just like me. You're seeking revenge against Tingxing and me for what happened before, aren't you? I looked at the furious Gu Ying and continued playing dumb. Comrade Gu, what on earth are you talking about? I don't understand a word. Past life, revenge. I pointed at Gu Ying's head. Is there something wrong up here? Catching sight of Liang Tingxing returning, I raised my voice. Tingxing, you're back just in time. Please take Comrade Gu to see a doctor. She seems to have lost her mind. She's been saying the most bizarre things to me. It's terrifying. My conversation with Gu Ying was cut short by Liang Tingxing's return. I looked at him, also empty-handed. Tingxing, you didn't buy groceries either. What are we having for dinner tonight? More of last night's cornmeal mush. Liang Tingxing's face turned ashen, while over there, Gu Ying began to sob. Brother Gu, I've caused you so much trouble. How could sister-in-law think of you and me that way, spreading such rumors everywhere? I can't go on living. Gu Ying ran off in tears, clutching the child, and Liang Tingxing abandoned me to chase after her. I couldn't be bothered to watch those two assholes put on a show, so I went home to wash up and rest. Liang Tingxing was gone for quite a while this time, chasing after Gu Ying, and didn't return until 10 o'clock. When he came back and saw me already in bed, Liang Tingxing's expression was rather complicated. Jianing, we need to talk. Talk about what? Did Comrade Gu go complaining to you? Let me tell you. That's not how it happened. This morning, she came over with her steamed buns and soy milk, flaunting them in my face and saying the cornmeal I was eating was pig slop. I was so angry I snatched the buns and milk from her and said some harsh things. I admit I overreacted. But who asked her to provoke me like that? You're my husband, aren't you? Liang Tingxing's expression softened considerably after my explanation. That Guing really went too far, Jianing. If you're unhappy about her and the child staying here, I can ask them to leave. We never had a conversation like this in my past life. Did Guing say something to Liang Tingxing? I said with a naive air. I don't have any objections. Why would I? Helping others is a virtue, isn't it a good thing? It's just that Comrade Gu doesn't seem to like me very much. I can tell she dislikes me. Tingxing, please. You mustn't listen to her one-sided story and start disliking me too. You're all I have now. Seeing that I was still acting as simple-minded as before, Liang Tingxing was reassured. He took my hand with emotion. Jianing, how could I ever dislike you? You're my favorite person. Let me explain about Guing. I owe a debt of gratitude to her late husband, so I have to repay it. Helping her and her son is just me settling that debt. Please, don't read too much into it. Besides, Guing has been a bit unhinged since her husband's death. She doesn't think before she speaks. You really shouldn't take her words to heart. His words made me sick to my stomach. I pulled my hand away. So she's mentally ill. Got it. I won't stoop to her level anymore. Since her husband helped you out, you should take good care of her and the child to repay that debt. Your good buddy down in the underworld will surely be grateful and remember your kindness. Hearing me say that, Liang Tingxing's face changed. Sleeping with your sworn brother's wife, getting her to bear your child, and even marrying her. What kind of person does something like that? After doing so many despicable things, Liang Tingxing must be scared deep down, afraid of being haunted by vengeful spirits. With an awkward expression, he quickly changed the subject. Look, Jianing, I don't want to support them forever either. I want to settle the debt I owe them and make a clean break. 9. How am I supposed to pay it back? I continued playing dumb. Guing has no job and the pressure of raising a child is immense. Your current job is quite easy. Why don't you just give your position to Guing? That way, I won't owe her and her son anything anymore. Well, I replied, my face betraying my reluctance, while Liang Tingxing stared at me intently. I saw the situation with perfect clarity and sighed along with him. I'll do whatever you say, but if I lose my job, how am I supposed to get by? I'll take care of you. Liang Tingxing reached out and took my hand again. Jianing, I'll provide for you for the rest of your life. Liang Tingxing had said the exact same thing before. In my past life, hearing those words filled me with a sweet, overwhelming sense of gratitude. Hearing it again in this life, I just felt sick. I pulled my hand out of his grasp. Alright, it's settled then. Guing gets the job. So you can repay the favor you owe her. But let me be clear, you need to keep your distance from her from now on. I've always had a strange feeling about that Comrade Gu. There's something off about her. Something unsettling. My words made Liang Tingxing stare at me for a long moment. His gaze was odd, sending a chill right through me. I figured Guing must have said something to Liang Tingxing. After all, I was certain that Guing, like me, had been reborn. Guing knew what was coming. So she warned Liang Tingxing about the change in me. That's why Liang Tingxing came back to test me. Seeing how readily I agreed without a hint of refusal, he was put at ease. That night, I lay in bed, unable to fall asleep. The realization that Guing had also been reborn filled me with a quiet sense of caution. Guing and Liang Tingxing are both despicable scoundrels. I thought my rebirth had given me the means to deal with them. Now that Guing has also been reborn, she's bound to notice that I'm different. I can't afford to slip up. I must be extremely careful. So, I obediently agreed to Liang Tingxing's request to give the job to Guing. This serves to put them at ease. And I have my own reasons for it. Just as the thought crossed my mind, I heard Liang Tingxing beside me softly calling, Jianing, Jianing. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to be fast asleep and didn't move a muscle. Seeing that I didn't respond, Liang Tingxing got up quietly and left the room. I got up too and tiptoed out after him. Liang Tingxing went next door to find Guing. The two of them spoke in hushed tones in the courtyard, while I stood on this side, listening intently through the wall. Guing asked Liang Tingxing, well, did she agree? She did. How is that possible? So, does that mean she isn't a reincarnator? Absolutely not. If she were reborn, would she be this docile and obedient? She'd probably hate our guts. But haven't you noticed how she's changed? She was nothing like this in her past life. Enough. I don't want to hear any more of this past life, this life nonsense. I'm warning you, you need to behave. This is a critical time for me. I'm up for a promotion and a professional title review. Don't you dare cause any trouble. Liang Tingxing's voice was stern. Guing replied resentfully, fine, I get it, it won't happen again. Oh, and Tingxing, don't leave tonight, stay with me and the kids. No way, we'll get caught, then let's sneak in a little time together now, it's been a while, and I've missed you so much. What followed was not suitable for a younger audience. I didn't want to disgust myself by sneaking back in. I felt a wave of relief. Thank goodness I agreed to give the job to Guing. Otherwise those two bastards would have been incredibly suspicious of me. Right. 10. The next day, I went to the office to speak with my supervisor about having Guing cover the work. The supervisor didn't object and agreed to have Guing start the following day, and that's how it was settled. I ran into Guing again at the door when I got home in the evening, holding her child. She gave me a forced, insincere smile and said, "You're back. Did you talk to the boss about the job?" I replied with a beaming smile, "I did, you can start work tomorrow." "Oh, really, thank you so much. By the way, Xiao Bao and I have really been a burden on you and Brother Liang. Especially Brother Liang, he's been so good to us. He said Xiao Bao and I are too thin and need to build up our health, so he specially bought a bunch of eggs, pork ribs, and brown sugar and brought them over at noon." Guing was still suspicious of me, her eyes fixed on me without blinking. I smiled. "That's a good thing, isn't it? It's not easy for a widow like you raising a child alone. If you're short on money, just talk to Tingxing and have him help you out more." Seeing that I hadn't given anything away, Guing left in disappointment, holding her child. I watched Gu Ying's retreating back coldly. Did she really think I was making some great sacrifice by willingly giving up my job? Wrong, I'm not sacrificing anything. I'm preparing for the college entrance exam. It's October 1977. I remember the announcement about the reinstatement of the college entrance exam will be made in just a few days. I quit my job to focus on studying. I'm determined to get into university when the exam is reinstated and leave that scumbag Liang Tingxing behind. The next few days passed quietly. Since I didn't have to work, I spent my free time at the bookstore, reading and reviewing. 2 weeks passed in this way. On my way home from the bookstore, I heard the news blaring from a roadside loudspeaker. The national college entrance exams have been reinstated. Hearing this thrilling news, my heart swelled with emotion. The moment that would decide my fate was finally at hand. In my past life, after Guing took over my job, I stayed home as a housekeeper, helping her with the kids and chores, all while keeping up with my studies. I was preparing for the college entrance exam, hoping to carve out a better future, but at the last minute, Liang Tingxing convinced me to write Gu Ying's name on my exam paper. He said that way, he would owe her nothing. For Liang Tingxing's sake, I agreed to take the exam for her. And in the end, Guing went off to university. Liang Tingxing and Guing had indeed cut off all contact and never spoke again. If Guing hadn't come back with their son to fight for the inheritance after Liang Tingxing's death, I would never have known those two snakes had been secretly building a second life together in another city. All those so-called business trips Liang Tingxing took were just visits to Guing and their son. At the thought of the college entrance exam, a glimmer of hope sparked in my eyes. This time, I'm taking control of my own life. I won't be played for a fool or let others take the credit for my work. 11. When I got home, both Liang Tingxing and Guing were there. They must have heard the news on the radio too and were scheming together about how to use me. I could see the calculation in Gu Ying's eyes the moment she saw me. Just as I sat down, Liang Tingxing got straight to the point and brought up the college entrance exam. Just like in my past life, Liang Tingxing told me to write Gu Ying's name on the exam paper. I put on a troubled expression. I don't mind writing Gu Ying's name, it's just, I'm not even sure if I can pass the exam myself. There's still over a month left. If you study hard, you'll definitely get in. Gu Ying, who already knew the outcome, looked at me with shining eyes. I'll give it a shot, but don't blame me if I don't get in. We won't blame you. As long as you study hard, I'm sure you'll do just fine. Gu Ying was beside herself with excitement. From now on, you don't need to do anything else. Just focus on your books and revision. I'll take care of all the housework. Gu Ying was really going all out to get into university. I sneered inwardly. Well, I was just so grateful for her contribution. From that day on, I threw myself into studying. Forgetting food and sleep, I was spared from all household chores, as Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying took on every single task at home. Just like that, over a month slipped by in the blink of an eye. On the morning of December 11th, 1977, I stepped into the examination hall, my heart filled with hope. Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying actually took time off to see me to the exam. I knew perfectly well what they were hoping for. I sat down in the exam hall, picked up my pen, and neatly wrote my name on the paper, Yang Jianing. The exam was a breeze. When I walked out, Liang Tingxing and Guing both came up to meet me. How did it go? Not bad, I guess, I replied. Hearing this, Guing couldn't contain her excitement. That's fantastic. You're definitely going to get in. Let's go celebrate early. Liang Tingxing booked a restaurant, and we all went for a hearty meal. The evening was undeniably joyful. Liang Tingxing, Guing, and I were all genuinely happy. Whatever was on our minds, in that moment, our happiness came from the heart. We were so happy we even had a drink to celebrate. I was toasting to my life finally being free of that scumbag, Liang Tingxing. What Liang Tingxing and Guing were celebrating, I have no idea. Having had a few too many drinks the night before, I woke up rather late the next morning. Lying in bed, I heard the door being kicked with loud bangs, accompanied by shouts and curses. Open this door. What time do you think it is, Yang Jianing? How can you still be asleep? Are you dead or something? 12. The sound of a woman's hysterical shouting outside jolted me fully awake. Wasn't that the voice of Liang Tingxing's mother? What is she doing here? The next second, the shouting grew even more shrill and piercing. Everyone, come and judge for yourselves. What sin have I committed? My fine son brought home a barren hen who can't even lay an egg. 3 years. And she hasn't managed to conceive a single child. I could overlook her being infertile, but she's also disrespectful. For over a month now, she hasn't sent a single penny home, and here she is, still lazing in bed in broad daylight. The amplified voice of Liang Tingxing's mother echoed through the courtyard. I got out of bed and opened the door. Liang Tingxing's mother barged in like a raging tigress. Yang Jianing, why are you still lazing in bed at this hour? Why aren't you at work? I heard you quit your job and are just sitting around waiting for my Tingxing to support you. What gives you, a useless hen that can't even lay an egg, the right to live off my son? Liang Tingxing's mother has disliked me for ages. In my past life, because I couldn't have children, she would berate me all day long. Calling me a barren hen was the mildest of her insults. When she was feeling particularly vicious, she would hurl every curse imaginable and even resort to pinching and twisting my skin. Back then, I thought I was the one at fault, and I didn't dare to resist in the slightest. I just let her waste my time. Of course, nothing like that would happen now. I took a few steps back and waited for Liang Tingxing's mother to catch her breath from her tirade before calmly replying. It's not that I'm refusing to go to work. It's that Tingxing had someone else take over my position. What? Why would Tingxing let someone take your job? Who is it? It's Tingxing's brother's wife. He said he owes them a debt of gratitude and feels sorry for the widow and her child, so he gave her my position. What kind of nonsense is this? I never heard about Tingxing owing anyone a favor. Tell me the name of the person who took your job. I'm going to have a serious talk with her today. I was secretly pleased, but kept my expression meek and submissive. Mom, wouldn't it be wrong for you to confront her like that? A widow and her child still have to make a living. Tingxing has been helping her out of pity. You said you haven't received the living expenses. It's not that I didn't want to send it, but we simply have no money. I lost my job, and Tingxing has to use his salary to support that widow and her child. So, what? Liang Tingxing's mother was no saint. Hearing that her son had not only given my job to that woman but was also spending money on her, she was fuming with rage. They say you raise a son for your old age, but after all the blood, sweat, and tears I poured into putting Liang Tingxing through college, I've never been treated like this. What gives that Gu woman the right? I'm going to find her right now and ask her just what the hell she thinks she's doing. I deliberately stopped her from going. While meticulously recounting every detail of how Liang Tingxing had been buying pork ribs, eggs, and brown sugar for Guing and her child, Liang Tingxing's mother listened, smoke practically coming out of her ears, her teeth grinding audibly. That little bitch, just you wait. If I don't teach you a lesson, I'm not human. 13. I put on a show of trying to stop her a few times, then pretended to stumble and fall. I watched as Liang Tingxing's mother, moving as if she had rocket boosters on her feet, charged straight off to find Guing. Once I could no longer see Liang Tingxing's mother, I slowly picked myself up and ambled after her to watch the drama unfold. Liang Tingxing's mother's combat prowess was on a whole other level. I knew things were about to get interesting, and sure enough, Liang Tingxing's mother soon stormed into Gu Ying's workplace. Utterly bewildered, Guing was called out. Liang Tingxing's mother marched up to her and demanded, "So you're Guing?" Guing recognized her. With a respectful tone, she nodded and said, "Yes, Auntie, you were looking for me, you goddamn little bitch. How dare you take my son's money? How dare you steal my daughter-in-law's job? Amidst a torrent of curses, Liang Tingxing's mother lunged at her, arms and legs flailing. Guing never dreamed in her wildest nightmares that Liang Tingxing's mother would resort to violence at the slightest provocation. Her face was slapped with sharp, stinging blows, and her hair was viciously yanked downward by Liang Tingxing's mother. Liang Tingxing's mother was as ferocious as a tigress. Guing, not only hesitant to fight back out of fear, wouldn't have stood a chance against her even if she tried. Guing was soon beaten by Liang Tingxing's mother until her nose and mouth bled. Howling in agony, not a single onlooker stepped in to pull them apart. They were all just there for the spectacle. I waited until Guing had been beaten to a pulp before limping out to intervene. Liang Tingxing's mother turned her venom on me. It's all your fault, you useless barren hen. Can't even keep your own man in check. Letting this little hussy have her way, she spat at Guing and snarled, listen here. You little bitch, you better cough up everything you've taken from me, every penny Tingxing spent on you, I want it all back, and you're giving that job back too. The onlookers buzzed with gossip, all condemning Liang Tingxing and Guing for their shameless affair. By the time Liang Tingxing got the news and rushed over, the whole scandal was already public knowledge. He saw the woman he loved, her face battered and bruised beyond recognition. Surrounded by a crowd of people pointing and whispering, Liang Tingxing was absolutely livid. He pushed through the crowd, his face dark with fury, and stormed off, dragging his mother along. The incident became prime gossip fodder. People couldn't stop whispering and adding their own spicy details about Liang Tingxing and Guing behind their backs. As rumors spread, they grew more elaborate. In no time, countless salacious versions of an alleged affair between Liang Tingxing and Guing were circulating. The scandal blew up so big that Liang Tingxing and Guing had to sneak around, avoiding people whenever they went out. Liang Tingxing's workplace also found out about the incident, and he was called in by his supervisor for a reprimand. His promotion and professional title evaluation were also put on hold, with his supervisor stating they would assess his future performance. Liang Tingxing was furious about this for a long time. In contrast, his mother seemed like a completely different person. She actually took the initiative to seek out Guing, apologize and admit her mistake, and voluntarily took on the responsibility of caring for Xiaobao. 14. I saw through it but didn't call it out. It goes without saying that Liang Tingxing and Guing must have told her the truth. Knowing that little Bao is her own biological grandson is why Liang Tingxing's mother changed her attitude. After learning the truth, Liang Tingxing's mother's attitude towards Guing and little Bao changed rapidly. She would cheerfully invite them over for meals every single day. All the best food and treats were reserved for little Bao alone, and she was all smiles and kindness towards Guing as well. But with me, it was a different story. He was just as bad-tempered as ever, flying off the handle at the slightest provocation and calling me a barren woman. He even joined forces with Guing to pressure me into divorcing Liang Tingxing. Of course, I was more than eager to get away from these awful people, so when Liang Tingxing's mother came to tell me to get lost, I seized the opportunity and agreed. I've been with Liang Tingxing for 3 years, and I have nothing to show for it, not even a job. You can't treat me like this. What right does a barren hen like you have to cling to my son? Hurry up and get a divorce to make room. It's my fault I can't have children, but where am I supposed to go if I divorce him alone? I can't go back to my parents' home. I'd be the talk of the town. You can't just let me starve, can you? Seeing me say this, Liang Tingxing's mother's eyes darted shrewdly. Well then, how about we send you off with a bit of money, will that do? Guing thought her university admission was a sure thing. Knowing about the good life Liang Tingxing had in his previous life, she was eager to make her relationship with him official right away. So, Liang Tingxing's mother and I discussed giving me a sum of money to get rid of me. The three of us started negotiating in private. Liang Tingxing's mother and Guing raised their offer from 200 to 500 yuan, and I finally gave in. The 500 yuan, plus the money I had taken earlier, should be enough to cover my living expenses at university. With the 500 yuan from Guing and Liang Tingxing's mother in hand, I promptly packed my things and left, but at the very last moment, Liang Tingxing caught up to me at the station and stopped me. Liang Tingxing held me, his face a mask of panic. Jianing, where are you going? Where do you think you're going without my permission? 15. I was absolutely furious. Why doesn't this disgusting scumbag just drop dead? Why did you have to show up now and ruin everything for me? Fuming with anger, I covered my face and wept bitterly. I can't have children, I can't give you the joy of a family or carry on the Leon family line. I'm a sinner, I don't deserve to be by your side, just let me go, don't talk nonsense. Jianing, you're my wife, the love of my life. You're staying with me for the rest of our days, nothing and no one will ever tear us apart. That scumbag Liang Tingxing dragged me back from the train station by force. When they saw me return, both his mother and Gu Ying's expressions changed. I have no idea what Liang Tingxing said to them, but neither of them dares to come and bother me anymore. Liang Tingxing's mother has also stopped bringing up the fact that I'm not having children, she just demanded that I return the 500 yuan to her. There's no way I'm giving back money that's already in my hands. I told her I had already sent the money to my parents and that I'd write to them to have it returned. I bought myself some time with that excuse, and there was nothing Liang Tingxing's mother or Guing could do about it. Unable to make her son send me packing, Liang Tingxing's mother resorted to making my life miserable behind the scenes. She pointed her finger in my face and hurled a torrent of abuse, which I endured in meek silence. When Liang Tingxing found out, he was furious and ordered his mother to get back to the countryside immediately. His mother was also quite afraid of Liang Tingxing. Not daring to confront her son, she had to find another way to pressure me into going to the hospital for a checkup. She kept saying, "What's the point of keeping a hen that doesn't lay eggs? Our Liang family has no use for a barren woman. You go to the hospital and get checked out immediately, find out what's wrong. If it can be fixed, you can stay. If not, get lost and stop ruining my son's life." I'm still waiting to hold a few more grandsons. I was practically dragged to the hospital by Liang Tingxing's mother for the tests. When the results came back, everything was normal with me. After learning I hadn't conceived in 3 years, the doctor advised me, "You should have your husband come in for a checkup as well. Infertility isn't always the woman's issue, sometimes the problem lies with the man." 16. Liang Tingxing's mother, standing nearby, flew into a rage the moment she heard the doctor say that. "What nonsense are you spouting? Who says my son can't have children? He can, he's already got." Realizing she'd said too much, she immediately stopped herself. Pointing a vicious finger at me, she snarled, "It's her who can't have kids, she's a barren hen." All the way home, Liang Tingxing's mother cursed the doctor, calling him a quack and a liar. He told me to get lost and stop being a burden to his son since I couldn't bear children. I ignored her, treating her words as nothing but hot air. Yet, my mind was elsewhere, pondering something. In my past life, I had gone to the hospital for fertility tests, and the doctor said I was perfectly healthy. But I still couldn't conceive. Back then, I had suggested that Liang Tingxing get checked, but he refused. He said having me by his side was enough, and we didn't need children. It's not that I never suspected the reason for our infertility might lie with Liang Tingxing, but Liang Tingxing does have a child. He and Guing had a child of their own, so if neither Liang Tingxing nor I have a problem, then where does the real cause lie? When I got home, both Liangxing and Guing had already returned from work. Liangxing's mother launched into another round of scolding me right in front of Guing. As Liangxing's mother berated me, Guing couldn't even hide the smirk on her face. Liangxing tried to intervene with a frown, and it wasn't until he handed the baby to his mother that the scolding finally stopped. Liang Tingxing's mother took Xiaobao out to play, leaving just me, Liang Tingxing, and Guing in the house, with a dark expression. Liang Tingxing shooed Guing away. "Jianing and I need to talk, you should head home first." Guing left, clearly displeased. Liang Tingxing came over and tried to hug me. "Jianing, I'm sorry you had to go through that. My mother has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Please try to be understanding." I gave a bitter smile. "I can't have children. This really is all my fault." "Liang Tingxing, your mother is right. Someone like me will end the Liang family line. Maybe we should just get a divorce." Liang Tingxing shook his head with absolute resolve. "Impossible, you're my wife, I won't divorce you." "Jianing, no matter what happens, I'll face it with you. You are the only woman I will ever call my wife." Looking at Liang Tingxing's earnest vow, I felt nothing but pity in my heart. It baffles me, since Liang Tingxing is already legally married to Guing, why has he kept it a complete secret from me, both in this life and the last? Why doesn't he just kick me out so he can be with Guing, his rightful wife, openly and without pretense? Why would he keep Guing and his precious son hidden away on the side, just to use me as a live-in nanny and housekeeper? That doesn't make any sense. Later on, Liang Tingxing's career really took off. He climbed all the way to the position of chief engineer. With his salary, he could have easily afforded not just one, but 3 full-time nannies. Why does he have to keep hiding this from me? I already gave my job to Guing, and on the surface, I even took the college entrance exam for her. I have no more value left for him to exploit. Why won't Liang Tingxing just leave me alone? Could it be that Liang Tingxing actually loves me? Is this some kind of joke? If you love me, why did you secretly get a marriage certificate with Guing? I couldn't think of an answer, and just at that moment, a heart-wrenching scream came from outside. Someone, come quick, something terrible has happened. 17. Guing and Liang Tingxing's son, Xiaobao, has been in an accident. He was out with Liang Tingxing's mother and, in a moment of inattention, ran into the middle of the road just as a car was coming. The driver couldn't brake in time. Xiaobao was hit head-on and was rushed to the hospital, covered in blood. Upon hearing the news, Gu Ying's legs gave way beneath her, and Liang Tingxing had to half support her to the hospital. I followed the whole way, watching it all unfold with a cold detachment. In the previous life, little Bao grew up safe and sound without a single mishap. Why would something like this happen in this lifetime? To be honest, I felt not a shred of sympathy when little Bao was hit and injured by the car. After all, in my past life, I genuinely cared for little Bao. At the time, I didn't know he was the illegitimate son of Liang Tingxing and Guing. While Guing took over my job and went to work, I took care of him with all my heart. Since I had no children of my own, I treated him as if he were my own. It wasn't until later, after Guing graduated from university and found a job, that she came back and took him away. I can honestly say I never did him any wrong, yet he inherited all the viciousness, selfishness, and shamelessness of Guing and Liang Tingxing. I remember all too clearly the look on his face, and Gu Ying's, when they came to throw me out after Liang Tingxing's death. He sneered at me, "You stupid woman, you were just a tool to be used. My father and mother treated you like a maid, a servant. Now that my father's gone, it's time for you to get out." He roughly forced me out of the house and shoved me to the ground. I remember the vicious sneer on his face all too clearly. I'm not an evil person, but I'm not a saint with no boundaries either. I feel no sympathy for a creature devoid of gratitude and any moral compass, even if it's just a child now. It's destined to grow into a monster. Little Bao was fighting for his life in the hospital. Guing was crying herself into a stupor, while Liang Tingxing's mother was beating her chest in anguish, filled with regret. Liang Tingxing's face was dark and stormy, his expression grim. I was the only spectator, watching the scene unfold with complete detachment. Little Bao's injuries were too severe and he needed a blood transfusion. The hospital's blood bank didn't have enough, so they needed to source some type B blood. Liang Tingxing, his mother, and Guing were all in a daze and didn't notice, but I heard every word crystal clear. I know for a fact that Liang Ting has type A blood, while Guing has type O, so how on earth could Xiaobao possibly have type B blood? I looked at Liang Tingxing, then back at Guing. It suddenly struck me that Xiaobao, whether as a child, a teenager, or a young adult, bore absolutely no resemblance to Liang Tingxing. I remembered how I couldn't get pregnant despite being perfectly healthy, and I remembered what the doctor told me during the checkup. Infertility isn't always the woman's problem. A man's issues can also prevent a pregnancy. So, is it possible that Xiaobao isn't actually Liang Ting's child? 18. Little Bao was eventually revived at the hospital. While he was out of mortal danger, he lost a leg and was left permanently disabled. Guing was utterly heartbroken, and Liang Tingxing was also deeply grieved. Of course, the one who was most devastated was Liang Tingxing's mother. It all happened because of her negligence and supervision. Liang Tingxing's mother was consumed by grief for a very long time. I was the only one who couldn't share in their joys and sorrows. My mind was fixated on one thing, getting into university. I waited with mounting anxiety for my college entrance exam results. Finally, the exam results were released. On the day the scores came out, I went to the admissions office first thing in the morning to get the news. Even though I didn't find the college entrance exam too difficult, I couldn't help feeling a bit anxious. It wasn't until I checked my score that a huge weight was finally lifted off my shoulders. I can finally get away from that disgusting creep, Liang Tingxing. I went straight to the admissions office, filled out the forms, submitted them, and only then did I head home. Just as I was about to push the door open, I heard Liang Tingxing's mother's shrill voice from inside. "Since this child is already a lost cause, you two should just have another one," Guing said. "I do want a child, but Tingxing won't marry me. I can't just follow him without any status and bear him two children who have to live in the shadows, can I?" "Tingxing, are you going to say something or not? What's so great about that barren hen that you're holding on to her like this?" "In my opinion, just divorce her and kick her out, then marry Gu Ying and give me a big, healthy grandson. Liang Tingxing fell silent for a long moment before finally saying, "Now is not the time to divorce Yang Jianing. Why can't you divorce her?" Liang Tingxing's mother and Gu Ying asked in unison. "I'm currently in the middle of a promotion and evaluation process. A divorce scandal at this point would severely damage my career. Do you really want me to be stuck at this level forever?" So this is the real reason Liang Tingxing refused to leave me, both in his past life and this one. So he threw away my entire life for the sake of his career and his future. Gu Ying cried out upon hearing this. "So you're planning to waste your whole life with her? What about me and little Bao? What are we supposed to do?" Liang Tingxing coldly cut her off. "What's all the crying for? Little Bao is disabled now. If you marry me, you'll have to take on his care. Are you really willing to spend your life looking after a cripple?" Liang Tingxing's voice was utterly devoid of warmth, and his words laid bare the impossible situation Gu Ying now faced. She fell silent at once. To be fair, she certainly didn't want to care for a disabled son, but she genuinely wanted to marry Liang Tingxing. "So what do you suggest we do? Didn't I already say, Yang Jianing and I will keep living together? She can take care of Xiaobao for you, you go off to university, and we'll find time to have another child." Yes, just do as Tingxing says. That barren woman will be so guilt-ridden. She'll obey Tingxing's every word and take good care of Xiaobao. And you two should hurry up and have a healthy child. No time like the present. Get on with it in the next few days. Liang Tingxing's mother clapped her hands in delight, eager for him and Gu Ying to have a child. I turned and walked away. How can anyone be so despicable? They want me to take care of their disabled child, Xiaobao, and waste the rest of my life. Then they could secretly have another healthy child and continue their blissful life. You have to admit, Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying's plan is absolutely brilliant. Liang Tingxing, not everything will go according to your plan. If you think you can trap me for the rest of my life, that's entirely up to me. 19. I took a stroll outside before finally making my way home at a leisurely pace. The three of them, having settled their discussion, were chatting idly in the living room as if nothing had happened. When they saw me return, Liang Tingxing's mother, quite unusually, initiated a conversation with me. "Where have you been?" "Just went out for a bit. I heard the Gaokao results came out today. Did you go check your score?" Gu Ying asked, reminded of the college entrance exam when she saw me. I said flatly, "Shouldn't it be in another 2 days? Really? Don't forget to let me know when it's time." "Don't worry, I won't forget about you. It's just," I paused before asking Gu Ying, "with your son in this condition, are you really at ease going off to university? Who are you planning to leave him with? Given his situation, it's unlikely anyone would take him in for you, right? Are you just going to send him to an orphanage?" My barrage of questions made both Gu Ying and Liang Tingxing's faces turn pale. The two scumbags hemmed and hawed. "We'll talk about little Bao later. We need to see the college entrance exam results first before deciding anything." I was good at giving reminders. "You need to think carefully about the child's future. As his mother, you absolutely must plan ahead for little Bao, given his condition." I knew Gu Ying had taken it to heart, and that's not even considering that little Bao had become disabled. In her past life, she wasn't willing to be a responsible mother even when little Bao was perfectly healthy. How much less would she be for a disabled child? She probably couldn't resist colluding with Liang Tingxing to prepare for what comes next. Right. As usual, I went to bed early in the evening. Liang Tingxing came in to check on me several times. He left only after confirming I was asleep. I opened my eyes, listened to the sound of his departing footsteps, and let out a cold laugh. Roughly a quarter of an hour later, I quietly got up and slipped out. The courtyard next door was lit, its gate left slightly ajar. I pushed the door open quietly and crept to the window, only to hear some truly unsavory sounds coming from inside. A cold sneer on my face, I turned and walked to the doorway, grabbed a few handfuls of firewood, and struck a match to set it alight. Soon, thick smoke billowed outside. I raised my voice and began to shout, "Fire! Someone, help! Fire!" In the dead of night, my sharp, piercing voice carried far and wide. Soon, neighbors from all around came rushing out with buckets, charging into Gu Ying's courtyard. The fierce flames were already licking at the windows when someone kicked the door in. And there, in all their glory, Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying were caught completely naked for all to see. 20. I stood in the crowd, watching the sheer panic on Liang Tingxing and Gu Ying's faces. The two of them were barely dressed and utterly disgraced. Even after the fire was put out, not a single onlooker left. I pushed through the crowd and charged forward, slapping Liang Tingxing and Guing across their faces, left and right. You cheating scum. How long has this been going on behind my back? How could you do this to me? Liang Tingxing's face was red and swollen from my slaps, his expression one of utter shock. He actually tried to explain, Jianing, it's not what you think, I swear it's not what you think, rolling around naked together, what else could it possibly be? Liang Tingxing, you bastard, you've gone too far. A lifetime of hatred erupted from me in that instant, and I unleashed it all on Liang Tingxing, hitting, scratching, and biting him. I beat Liang Tingxing until his face was swollen and his nose and mouth were bleeding. Guing, heartbroken for him, actually tried to intervene. Did she think I'd go easy on her? I grabbed Guing by the hair and threw her to the ground. I left Guing without a single patch of unbruised skin on her body. She glared at me with pure venom. You set us up, didn't you, Yang Jianing, you bitch. The fallout from this was immense. In this day and age, engaging in illicit affairs could land you in jail. The scandal involving Liang Tingxing and Guing couldn't be hushed up. Liang was suspended from his post the very next day, ordered to reflect on his conduct. An uncertain future awaited him. As for Guing, she was still in her probationary period after taking over my position. Given the disgraceful nature of the scandal, she was summarily dismissed without any objection from the unit. Gossip about Guing and Liang Tingxing is spreading like wildfire. Everyone's telling these vivid, detailed stories about how they hooked up behind my back. Some even claim they'd sneak around together every night after I fell asleep. Guing and Liang Tingxing's reputations are completely ruined. Liang Tingxing's mother was furious. While he was fooling around with Guing, she was stuck at the hospital taking care of their injured, disabled child, Xiao Bao. She had no idea what had happened. But upon learning that I had ruined her son and Guing, she actually had the nerve to come looking for trouble with me. She still thought I was that meek, submissive Yang Jianing. Furious, she actually pointed her finger right in my face and started screaming at me. It's all because of you, you jinx. Because of you, Tingxing lost his job. Let's see what you're going to eat and drink now. I didn't put up with her nonsense. The moment she pointed her finger in my face and cursed me, I slapped her right across the cheek. Liang Tingxing's mother was slapped so hard she nearly fainted. Her hand trembled as she pointed at me. You hit me, you ungrateful wretch. I'm going to report you to the authorities. Go ahead and report me. I'll be waiting, I said, staring at her coldly. You can drop the act now. You knew all about your son's dirty little secret, didn't you? You knew he had a child with Guing from their sordid affair, and yet you still tried to use me to make me your family's slave. Your whole family is beneath contempt. You ungrateful monster, you struck me. I'm going to the police station right now to report you for assaulting an elder. I crossed my arms and sneered. Go ahead, sue me. Let me remind you, did your son ever mention that we're not legally married in the eyes of the law? Liang Tingxing's mother was stunned. What do you mean? Your son and Guing are the legally married couple. He lied to me. We never even registered our marriage. Hearing this, Liang Tingxing's mother's eyes lit up. So you're saying my son and Guing are the real married couple? Then they're not breaking the law by being together. Does that mean his job is safe? She was overjoyed, thinking she had found a lifeline, while I stood behind her, sneering coldly. 21. Liang Tingxing's mother didn't believe me and went to ask him herself. The result confirmed that Liang Tingxing and I were indeed not legally married. Ecstatic, she urged Liang Tingxing to clear things up, hoping to save his job. Liang Tingxing also saw a glimmer of hope and tried to get me to step in and help clear his name. He knelt before me, weeping and begging for forgiveness. Jianing, it's always been you I love. Guing set me up. I was drunk and she seduced me. Then she used it to blackmail me. I was afraid you'd leave me if you found out, so I kept quiet. I'm a victim too. I was forced into marrying her. Watching Liang Tingxing's tearful breakdown, I couldn't help but laugh. Do you really think I'd believe a word you say at this point? Liang Tingxing, let me make this clear. You, Guing, and your son drove me to my death once already. Do you honestly think I'd be foolish enough, after getting a second chance at life, to fall for your excuses again? Liang Tingxing's face went deathly pale. You really were reborn. You and Guing, you both came back. I gave a firm nod. That's right. Exactly. Seeing me confirm it, Liang Tingxing was utterly dumbstruck. Impossible. How could this be? He was still trying to explain and shirk responsibility. Jianing, I had no choice. It's you I love. I never intended to marry Guing. She forced me to secretly replace your name with hers on the marriage certificate. She threatened to report me for rape if I didn't. I was backed into a corner. Please forgive me. I had no idea Guing would turn so vicious and cruel towards you after my death. I truly didn't know, Jianing, I was wrong. Forgiveness is out of the question, Liang Tingxing. You and Guing are two of a kind, birds of a feather, you deserve each other as husband and wife. Seeing that I refused to forgive him, Liang Tingxing turned vicious. Jianing, what can a barren woman like you possibly do without me? Let me make this clear. It's only because I'm fond of you that I put up with your infertility. Any other woman would have been beaten and thrown out long ago, so what? Am I supposed to thank you for wasting my life like this? I just wanted you to know how much I love you, Jianing. For the sake of the time we've spent as husband and wife, please help me. Go to my supervisor and explain that we're not really married, that Guing and I aren't having an affair. She's my real wife, that way, I won't be fired. As long as I keep my job, I'll take care of you. I promise I'll support you for the rest of your life. Why on earth would I need you to support me? I have my own 2 hands and feet, I can take care of myself perfectly well. Why would I ever rely on a liar like you? But you can't have children. A woman who can't bear children is destined to be looked down upon. What happens to me is none of your concern. Liang Tingxing, I'll have you know some wonderful news. I'm going to university. 22. What? You're going to university? Didn't you take the exam for Guing? Don't tell me, you've been deceiving me all along. Absolutely. I was foolish enough to make that mistake once in my past life, and that's more than enough. Did you really think I'd be stupid enough to do it again? The moment I found out you and Guing were in cahoots, my decision was made, Liang Tingxing. I hope you and Guing have a wonderful life with your disabled son. Before I leave, I have a little parting gift for you. I do hope you'll like it. After my cold rejection, Liang Tingxing screamed curses at my back, his words as vile and unimaginable as his mother's. I packed my things and prepared to leave. As I was leaving, Guing blocked my path. Yan Jianing, how dare you scheme against me, you bitch. My response was 2 sharp slaps across the face. Sending Guing sprawling to the floor, I planted my foot on her chest, leaned down, and told her slowly and deliberately, you'd better not cross me, or your little secret won't be a secret for long. Guing covered her face, staring at me in disbelief. You, what are you implying? You know exactly what I'm implying. You, more than anyone, know the truth about how you got your precious Xiaobao, don't you? Passing off another man's child as Liang Tingxing's son. You played this game for 2 lifetimes now, haven't you? Weren't you ever afraid of getting caught? A flash of panic crossed Gu Ying's face, and her imposing demeanor vanished in an instant. I wasn't entirely sure Liang Tingxing was infertile. I just wanted to bluff Gu Ying. I never expected Gu Ying to crumble so completely. Her refusal to challenge me and her sheer panic said it all. This is just too good. I shoved Gu Ying aside and stormed off, but she came chasing after me. Are you going to tell Liang Tingxing? Yan Jianing, I'm warning you. If you dare snitch, you'll regret it. Even now, she still has the nerve to bluff and threaten me. Some people never learn. I was originally going to let her and Liang Tingxing be stuck with each other forever, but Gu Ying's threat made me change my mind. With a grudge spanning 2 lifetimes, what reason do I have to let her off the hook? Even a clay figure has its limits. I'm going to make Gu Ying understand the consequences of her arrogance. Liang Tingxing and his mother made a desperate, last-ditch effort to save his job, but I beat him to it by sending a letter of complaint to the Commission for Discipline Inspection. The letter detailed Liang Tingxing's moral corruption, accusing him of deceiving and toying with women. The disciplinary commission took the matter very seriously and dispatched investigators. The evidence, solid as iron, was laid bare for all to see. Liang Tingxing's workplace had no possible way to shield him anymore. He was unceremoniously fired. A week later, my university acceptance letter arrived. I boarded the train bound for the capital, my admission notice in hand. Before I left, I gave Liang Tingxing a long overdue parting gift. I told Liang Tingxing that he was infertile, and that his so-called biological son, Xiaobao, was actually Gu Ying's bastard child with another man. What Liang Tingxing would do about it was none of my concern. Knowing that despicable man as I did, I figured Gu Ying and her son Xiaobao wouldn't come to a good end. Sure enough, not long after I reported for duty in the capital, I heard a fellow townsman give a vivid account of a horrifying dismemberment case. The male lead is named Liang Tingxing, the female lead is Gu Ying, and there's also a supporting character, their disabled son, Xiaobao. Liang Tingxing was sentenced to death and immediately executed for intentional homicide. Upon hearing this news, a faint smile touched my lips. The end. Story 2. I've been living under the radar for 3 years, I unexpectedly ran into Liang Xiao at the school's family day event. He was dressed in a white shirt and black trousers, his long legs crossed elegantly, even sitting in the very last row. He commanded an undeniable presence. My heart skipped a beat. The memory from years ago flashed through my mind, Liang Xiao pinning me against the piano. The black and white keys produced a silent, discordant melody as he bit my shoulder and whispered, "Yao Yao, if you lie to me, you'll die. I just want to run away, but they'll see right through it." I forced myself to walk up to the podium. I told myself, "It's going to be fine. Yao Yao died in that meticulously orchestrated fire 3 years ago. He watched me burn to ashes with his own eyes and even held a grand funeral for me. He is already convinced of my death. Now, I am Jiang Ci, just an ordinary kindergarten teacher." This meeting was purely accidental. After giving myself a mental pep talk, I put on a professional smile, hid my slightly trembling hands behind my back, and calmly delivered my opening line. Not long ago, a flash flood struck the northern suburbs, leaving many people displaced. The school is planning to organize a charity sale. Students and parents will work together to create handicrafts, which will then be auctioned off to local businesses. All proceeds will be donated to the disaster-stricken area. After explaining the event details, I asked the class monitor to distribute the craft materials to each student and parent. 1 hour later, the parents submitted the finished pieces, each accompanied by their child. Some helped the children with their drawings. Some molded cute cartoon characters out of lightweight clay, and some parents, with their beautiful handwriting, simply wrote out a piece of calligraphy. Liang Xiao, however, arrived empty-handed. He did nothing at all, because for the entire hour after the activity began, his eyes were fixed on me. His gaze was probing and sinister. It was so intense it made my scalp crawl. "Ms. Liang, where is your craft project?" It was Teacher Li who finally broke the silence. Only then did Liang Xiao look away from my face. He deliberately undid the top button of his shirt and removed a necklace from around his neck, from which hung a small glass vial. Teacher Li asked, puzzled, "What is this?" "My wife's ashes." As the words fell, all the parents and teachers turned to look at Liang Xiao in horror. Inside the small glass vial was a murky, grayish substance. The longer I looked, the more unsettling it became. This should fetch a decent price. He paid no mind to the stares around us. With pitch-black pupils, he stared straight at me and smiled. "Professor Jiang, you must keep this safe for me. Whether the children in the disaster area can have clean water and a hot meal is now in your hands." A cold sweat broke out on my back. Soon, I understood what he meant, because 20 minutes later, the CEOs of various companies had all gathered in the school auditorium. Sitting in the front row, Liang Xiao purchased the ashes necklace for 14 million. He said, the number symbolizes his unwavering, eternal love for his wife. Not even life and death could extinguish it. As he said this, his gaze flickered over me from the corner of his eye. My hands, holding the auction item, trembled involuntarily. After work, I slipped into the restroom and used the secure line to call my old contact, Officer Su. After I faked my death, we cut off all contact for my own safety. I truly thought that by changing my name, falsifying my credentials, and moving to a remote city, I had severed all ties with Liang Xiao for good. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine we'd meet again like this, 3 years later. But how on earth could Liang Taotao be Liang Xiao's child? Liang Taotao is 3 years old. When Liang Xiao was with me, there were absolutely no other women. My mind was in complete disarray, and Officer Su's phone just kept ringing unanswered. I had no choice but to leave the teaching building first, planning to head home and figure things out from there. But when I went to the bike shed to get my e-bike, I found the tire had been slashed and was completely flat. Just then, a car pulled over beside me. The window rolled down, revealing a strikingly handsome face. Liang Xiao greeted me. "Professor Jiang, let me give you a lift." Beside him, Liang Taotao also piped up in a sweet, childish voice, urging me to get in. I really didn't want to have much to do with him, so I just smiled and politely declined, saying there was a bike repair stall at the next intersection and I wouldn't trouble them. Liang Xiao didn't press the matter and told the driver to leave. I only breathed a sigh of relief when the car had shrunk to a tiny black speck in the distance. I then pushed my e-bike towards the intersection to get it fixed. To my surprise, the old man who usually repairs bikes wasn't at his stall today. The sky was overcast with dark clouds, and a few scattered raindrops began to fall. I reached out to feel the rain, and as I looked up, a black umbrella blotted out the sky. Darjeeling tea, its scent, mingled with the smell of damp earth, filled my nostrils. It's not good for a girl to get caught in the rain. Liang Zhao's arm brushed against my shoulder, a touch so light it was almost imperceptible. From the car, Liang Taotao added with a pout on her rosy little face, "Getting a shot when you're sick hurts, you know." My heart was pounding wildly. In the end, I still got into Liang Zhao's car. Refusing now would only make it look more suspicious. Rain pelted against the car windows, fogging them up almost instantly. My e-bike was left outside, utterly alone and at the mercy of the downpour. Just then, Liang Xiao took out a handkerchief and gently wiped my ear. I flinched back, only to find my back pressed against the carriage wall. The space was cramped, and his eyes were so close. They were as deep and inscrutable as a cold, dark pool. I pretended to be calm as I took the handkerchief. "Thank you, Taotao's father, I can manage." A faint smile touched the corners of Liang Zhao's lips. My gaze drifted down to my hands. "You have such beautiful hands, Professor Jiang, perfect for playing the piano." The voice was languid, trailing off with a tantalizing lilt, yet it dragged my thoughts straight to hell. When I was 19, I was Liang Zhao's piano teacher. To land the job, I faked my resume and claimed I had just graduated. At first, I was just an ordinary piano tutor, but then, Officer Su approached me. He asked if I could keep a record of everyone coming and going from Liang Zhao's house whenever I went there to give him lessons. The Liang family was the most prominent and powerful dynasty in our town. On the surface, they're in the real estate business, but behind the scenes, they're dabbling in shady industries. They have connections in both the legitimate and the criminal underworld. The police have had their eyes on them for a long time, but have been struggling to find a breakthrough. Officer Su believes I'm the best person for the job, but back then, I just wanted a quiet life and had no desire to get involved in that mess, so I flatly refused. However, just as I was handing in my resignation to Liang Xiao, he suddenly confessed his feelings for me. After I rejected him, he finally dropped his hypocritical mask. He started preventing me from seeing my family, scheming to turn my friends and classmates against me. Even the guys who had once shown interest in me mysteriously vanished. He said his jealousy was fierce, and he couldn't stand to see me smile at anyone but him. He said that because he loved me, I too must devote my whole heart and mind to him alone. In the end, he trapped me in a gilded cage, a songbird meant for his eyes and hands only, to escape. I played along with his affections while secretly reaching out to Officer Su. I also shared all the leads I had managed to uncover, but in the end, I am just an ordinary person, and ordinary people have their flaws. On the day it happened, I was prepared for a fight to the death. To my surprise, Officer Su orchestrated a fire, allowing me to perish in the flames. From that moment on, Yu Yaoyao was dead. In this world, there was only Jiang Ci. The leads I had gathered at the time were a mix of truth and falsehood, never touching the core of the matter, and someone else stepped forward to take the blame. In the end, we still failed to bring down Liang Xiao. I lowered my gaze, unhurriedly drying my damp hair. "I don't play the piano." "Oh." Liang Xiao withdrew his gaze, tapping a finger on his knee, his tone laced with amusement. "What a shame." The heavy rain had stopped. I opened the car door and stepped out. Puddles dotted the ground, their water just deep enough to cover the soles of my shoes. Liang Taotao waved at me, saying, "Goodbye, Professor Jiang." "Goodbye, Taotao." Just then, someone called my name from not far away. I turned to look and saw it was my boyfriend, Lin Yu. He rode up on a bicycle, stopped in front of me, and took off his jacket to wrap it around me. "Xiao Ci," he said with concern, "are you cold? Why didn't you tell me your bike broke down?" My internal alarm bells were ringing, but it was already too late to stop it. "Ms. Jiang, aren't you going to introduce us?" As expected, Liang Zhao's voice came from behind me. Liang Taotao chimed in from the side. "I know, that's Ms. Jiang's boyfriend. I saw him pick her up the day before yesterday, and he even kissed her." Lin Yu sheepishly rubbed the tip of his nose. My face pale, I said to Liang Taotao, "You must be seeing things." Then, I turned to Lin Yu and said, "Let's go." But just as I was about to leave, someone suddenly grabbed my wrist. I turned around and my eyes met Liang Zhao's. They were dark as obsidian, chilling and unsettling, but in just an instant, the corner of his mouth lifted into a smile as he placed that black umbrella into my hand. With a gentle and amiable demeanor, he said, "The weather's not looking good, please take this umbrella, Professor Jiang." I nodded in thanks, quickly withdrawing my hand and returning to Lin Yu's side. Liang Xiao also got back into the car. Soon, the car started up, leaving behind nothing but a tiny black speck. Gazing at the receding car, Lin Yu said, "Is he Tada's father? What a kind man." "Kind, quite the opposite. He is brutal, cold-blooded, and has an overwhelming need for control. He once even had a boy's mouth sewn shut because he whistled at me." Lin Yu saw me home. "The first thing I did when I got back was to draw all the curtains. And then I urged Lin Yu to go abroad for further studies." His company had previously wanted him to take charge of a project at their overseas branch. He turned it down because he didn't want a long-distance relationship with me. Given the current situation, he must leave as soon as possible. I don't know what Liang Zhao's objective is, but everything that happened today seems far from coincidental. I can't afford to take that risk, if he really is coming for revenge. I can't drag anyone else into this. Fortunately, Lin Yu has always listened to me, and after a moment's hesitation, he agreed. After dinner, I saw Lin Yu out, passing under the street lamp at the building entrance. I noticed a scattering of cigarette butts littering the ground. Lucky Strike. It was Liang Zhao's favorite brand. At that moment, a chill ran through my entire body. I could barely move my feet. I still can't get in touch with my only contact, Officer Su. I can't run. Running would only shatter this fragile semblance of peace. Besides, Liang Zhao's reach is immense, and there's nowhere for me to run. The next day, I went to work at the kindergarten as usual. The kindergarten's backyard had a vegetable patch. While the children were playing, a few of us trainee teachers went to pick some vegetables. Teacher Li chatted with me. "Tada's father is so handsome. He looks like a movie star. I heard his wife passed away 3 years ago. Poor Tao Tao, she's so young." I kept quiet and continued picking vegetables. Any mention of Liang Xiao makes me jump out of my skin. Just then, a truck delivering playground equipment pulled in through the back gate. Tada's father had it sent over. Teacher Li couldn't help but praise. He even donated a batch of new books, desks, and chairs to the kindergarten. How generous, absolutely, how generous. But for me, this is not good news. I walked silently to the last row of the cowpea trellis. A heavy weight settling in my chest, fearful and anxious. Just as I steadied my nerves and reached for the cowpeas hanging high above, a large hand covered the back of mine, and together we grasped the same pod. At the same time, my back pressed against a solid chest, and a warm breath brushed against the nape of my neck. A shiver ran down my spine. I whirled around and, looking up, saw Liang Xiao. I asked warily, "What are you doing?" Liang Xiao smiled innocently, snapped off the yard-long bean, and held it up before my eyes. "There's a worm." Sure enough, a green caterpillar was clinging to it. I immediately snatched the bean and flung it away with force. Liang Xiao glanced at the bug on the ground and chuckled. "You're quite brave, Teacher Jiang. Most women are afraid of insects. My wife, for instance, screams in terror every time she sees one." "It's a test. It's just a bug." I pretended to be calm, but my palms were sweaty. Just then, my phone started ringing. I pulled it out and saw Lin Yu's name on the screen. Even though I quickly stuffed it back into my pocket, the sharp-eyed Liang Xiao had already spotted it. "Aren't you going to answer it?" "What's it to you?" "Ms. Jiang, your boyfriend isn't good enough for you." The tone was utterly unvarnished. Liang Zhao's eyes crinkled, but the smile never reached them. "If it were me, I'd never ride a bike to pick up my girlfriend on a rainy day. I'm afraid Mr. Liang doesn't understand. Riding a bike in the rain is the most romantic thing." I tightened my grip on the shopping basket and turned to leave. Even though I was wary of him, I couldn't stand him badmouthing my boyfriend. Stepping out of the vegetable garden, I found the old cobblestone path inexplicably strewn with rose petals. At the end of the rose petal path, Lin Yu, who was supposed to be away on a business trip, was walking towards me, holding a huge bouquet of flowers. "Shao Ci. After I go abroad, we'll face a long-distance relationship. I want to give you a sense of security. Marry me." He knelt on one knee, opening the white velvet box to reveal the ring inside. The grocery basket slipped from her hand. It was a scene I had dreamt of, yet in this moment, it brought me no joy. Just as I had planned, Lin Yu should have been away on a business trip, then following the company's assignment, boarding a plane bound for a foreign country, leaving all the trouble behind for good. Yet, here he was, right in front of me, down on one knee, proposing to me. Romantic music was playing from the speakers. The teacher and the children suddenly ran out and formed a circle around us. They clapped and cheered enthusiastically. They chanted at me over and over, "Say yes, say yes." In the crowd, only Liang Xiao remained still. He watched it all quietly, his gaze fixed on Lin Yu's hands. A faint, ambiguous smile played on his lips. It was a clear signal of danger. Lin Yu had disappeared. Just like all the other guys who used to be close to me, he vanished without a trace. My plan was completely ruined, or perhaps it was just a presumptuous plan all along. In fact, even if I had rejected Lin Yu, even if he had gone abroad and cut off all contact with me, Liang Xiao would never have let him off the hook. Our fate was sealed the moment Liang Xiao found me. I called the police, but there were no leads. The apartment's security cameras were broken, and there were no witnesses. His family and I searched for a week, utterly exhausted, emotionally shattered, and left with nothing but despair. Mrs. Liang soon collapsed from exhaustion and was hospitalized. The doctor said her old heart condition had flared up and she must avoid any further distress. That night, lying in her hospital bed, she clutched my hand, tears streaming from her eyes, murmuring the same words over and over. How can a perfectly healthy person just vanish like that, Xiao Xi? Look at him, he's a grown man, yet he still causes us so much worry. A grown man playing hide and seek, of all things, he couldn't possibly. The voice dissolved into broken sobs, fighting back tears with all my might. I whispered in reassurance, don't worry, we'll find it. The very next day, I was knocking on Liang Zhao's door. The familiar furnishings and decor were identical to those in the house that had burned down 3 years prior. A servant guided me upstairs to the piano room. The faint, halting notes of a piano drifted out. A serenade, the fifth movement of K185 was the first piece I ever taught Liang Xiao. I pushed the door open, and the piano music stopped abruptly. Our eyes met. Liang Zhao's eyes crinkled slightly, gleaming with the dark luster of obsidian, a light that was anything but ordinary. He stood up and spread his arms wide. The game between parents and teachers ends here. Welcome back, my beloved wife, my dearest one. In that moment, the blood in my veins ran cold. I let him pull me into his embrace, where he greedily breathed in the scent of my hair. I begged him to let Lin Yu go. Do you really think you're in any position to make demands of me now? Liang Zhao's smile vanished as he pinched my chin. You cost me a lot of good men, Yao Yao. When you handed that evidence to the police, were you hoping I'd die? But when you died, I was truly heartbroken. He removed the black leather glove from his left hand. The once fair and smooth skin was now covered in scars, and the tip of his little finger was missing. 3 years ago, during the villa fire, he had rushed into the blaze, risking his life to try and save me. But his arm was pinned down by a falling chandelier. I don't know if it was my imagination, but as he said this, I thought I saw a mistiness in his eyes. Liang Xiao took 2 steps back and tore down a nearby curtain. The curtain fell, revealing another world. Countless white roses bloomed in profusion, crowding around a large black and white photograph in their midst. The person in the photograph was me. On the memorial tablet before the incense burner, a few words were engraved, Liang Zhao's wife. Yu Yao Yao. He turned the music room into a memorial hall, a resting place for my soul. Liang Xiao picked up the urn from the table, his hand slipped, and the urn shattered into pieces on the floor. Ashes danced in the beam of light. The smell was rather peculiar. He snatched up my funeral portrait and hurled it at the white roses. In an instant, the stems were broken, the petals scattered, the room was in complete disarray. His chest heaved slightly, as if finally spent, and he stood not far away, locking eyes with me. His eyes were filled with a cold, crimson fury. Yu Yao Yao, why aren't you dead? Exactly, why on earth didn't Yu Yao Yao die? It would have been so much better if she had just perished in that fire 3 years ago. Then I wouldn't have to live in this constant state of fear, too terrified to even acknowledge my own family. So I bent down, picked up a shard of the funerary urn, and pressed it against my wrist. How about, fine. Liang Zhao's eyes were like tempered ice. But you remember this, Yu Yao Yao. For every single scratch on you, your boyfriend will get 10, 100, you'd better think about that carefully. My hand froze. He walked right past me and out the door without so much as a glance in my direction. At the doorway, Liang Xiao glanced at his watch. Dinner is in 20 minutes, of course, you're free to skip it. Well, you've made your position perfectly clear. I understood perfectly well that if I didn't go to eat, Lin Yu wouldn't get a meal either. I dropped the broken pieces in my hand and took the initiative to follow him. Honestly, that outburst of mine just now, I wasn't really trying to kill myself, I just wanted to test him. Thankfully, he still has a shred of interest in me for now. He's not ready to let me die. This way, I have a chance to protect Lin Yu. That dinner was incredibly awkward. Liang Taotao, however, was overjoyed. She kept urging me to try the delicious food, and after the meal, she pestered me to tell her a bedtime story. Being able to avoid Liang Xiao for a while was exactly what I wanted, so I grabbed 4 or 5 storybooks from the shelf and read to Liang Taotao until late into the night. It was almost midnight. Liang Xiao pushed the door open, leaned in close to me, reeking of alcohol. I kept my eyes shut, pretending to be asleep. His breath was hot on my face, his voice a low growl. "Stop pretending. If you make me wake you up myself." I can't promise what the child might see. I gritted my teeth, opened my eyes, and took another look at Liang Taotao lying beside me. Her cheeks were flushed pink, her breathing was even, and she was sleeping soundly. With no other choice, I threw back the covers, got out of bed as quietly as I could, and made my way out into the hallway. From behind me, Liang Xiao let out a cold laugh, raising his voice. "Spent 5 whole hours on some lousy bedtime story. What, you think you're her mother now?" I kept silent. He took 2 quick strides, grabbed the back of my neck, and pulled me into his room. His piercing gaze was like a sinister flame in the darkness. He pinned me against the door and bit my neck hard. "He's had this twisted little habit ever since we got together 3 years ago." Liang Xiao had a fierce, intimidating presence, with a face that looked mean and rough. The only thing that didn't quite fit was the sharp little canine tooth in his mouth. My neck was his favorite chew toy. Once he was satisfied, Liang Xiao released his bite and used his index finger to hook out a necklace from around my neck. A ring was hanging from the necklace. It was the one Lin Yu used to propose to me. I covered it, trying to hide it from view, but Liang Xiao yanked the necklace right off my neck, snapping the chain. He examined the ring for a moment, his gaze growing colder by the second. "A diamond the size of a grain of sand. You Yao Yao, since you left me, has your taste really sunk so low that any stray cat or dog can catch your eye now? Give it to me." I stood on my tiptoes, trying to reach it. Liang Xiao, however, grabbed my chin, with a cold glare. "Bigamy is illegal, you know, and you call yourself a teacher. Aren't you worried about corrupting the kids?" "I never married you," I corrected. "Ha." Liang Xiao pushed me onto the bed. "You don't get to decide that. I barely slept a wink all night." Liang Xiao was jolted awake early in the morning by his assistant's phone call. The voice on the other end of the line was trembling with apprehension, yet, for once, he didn't lash out in a fit of morning grumpiness. He got out of bed with surprising efficiency, then asked me to help him with his tie. As he was leaving, Liang Taotao piped up in her sweet, childish voice, telling him to be careful on the road and to bring her back some egg tarts. Liang Xiao agreed with a smile, then turned his gaze toward me. "Ms. Jiang, it's 22 degrees outside. Aren't you hot in that turtleneck?" The marks from last night still lingered on my neck. I turned my face away, flushed with a mix of shame and annoyance. A broad smile spread across Liang Zhao's face as he crouched down, gave Liang Taotao's cheek a gentle pinch, and then headed out the door. After Liang Xiao left, I leaned against the wall, struggling to catch my breath. The scenes from last night are still vivid in my mind. It almost shattered my sanity. I could only console myself, telling myself it was okay, as long as Lin Yu was rescued. At that moment, Liang Taotao tugged on my hand and asked with an innocent look, "Teacher Jiang, are you going to marry my dad? Are you going to be my new mommy?" Looking into her clear eyes, I managed a faint, wan smile. "If I could, I'd still want to be your teacher Jiang." I went back to my room. Liang Taotao then came to find me to play, holding a toy. Not long after they started playing, a young woman appeared in the doorway. She had shoulder-length hair and wore a bright red dress, striking and bold. Liang Taotao jumped off the bed and threw herself into the woman's arms. "Auntie, what brings you here?" The woman crouched down and gently smoothed her hair. "It's time for your etiquette lesson today." Liang Taotao pouted. "Do I really have to go?" The woman coaxed her. "Be a good girl, it's only 30 minutes, it'll be over in no time. I brought your favorite Barbie doll. We can open it together after your lesson." Liang Taotao agreed reluctantly and was led away by the butler. The woman's gaze then fell upon me, with a woman's intuition. She regarded me with considerable hostility. "My name is Su Rue, Taotao's aunt." Su Rue spoke first. Her chin held high, yet her eyes were full of disdain. "I don't know what trick you used to stay here, but let me tell you, brother Xiao dotes on Taotao. He would never just pick some random woman to be her stepmother. Don't think you can get away with entertaining improper thoughts just because you're teacher Taotao." Her tone was laced with warning. She even opened her bag and told me to name my price. My expression remained impassive. "I don't need money, if you can actually make me leave." "I might even thank you," Su Rue sneered. "Professor Jiang, spare me the holier-than-thou act. We've seen this kind of thing before. If you wait for Xiao to throw you out himself, you'll be lucky to even scrape by in this city. With that, she ordered the housekeeper to have Liang Zhao's bed hauled out of his bedroom, all because I had sat on it while keeping Liang Taotao company. Su Ruwei was clearly out to humiliate me, but I didn't give that little incident a second thought. Evening came. Liang Xiao returned home from work. Su Ruwei stood in the entryway, thoughtfully taking the coat he shrugged off and setting out his slippers. Liang Xiao had been waited on hand and foot since childhood, so he had no qualms about treating others as his personal servants. He didn't show the slightest bit of courtesy to Su Ruwei, even though she was his sister-in-law. After changing into slippers, Su Ruwei followed behind Liang Xiao and said, "Brother Xiao, I made all your favorite dishes today." Like crispy fried pork, and he cut her off with a grunt, then walked straight over to me and tossed me a bag of medicine. "You'll need to apply the medicine soon. Aren't you worried about getting heat stroke?" Wearing so many layers, Su Ruwei, feeling snubbed, wore a sour expression. Liang Xiao went back to the bedroom to change into loungewear. Upon returning to the dining room, he asked, "Why was my bed changed?" Su Ruwei was just then mixing rice for Liang Taotao. Hearing the question, she explained with a smile, "Teacher Jiang accidentally soiled the bed. Knowing you're particular about cleanliness, I had it replaced." Liang Xiao paused as he pulled the chair, his voice laced with displeasure. "Su Ruwei, you're overstepping your bounds." Su Ruwei's hand trembled. By 7 o'clock in the evening, Su Ruwei was about to leave, and before she went, she even offered to see me home. "No need," Liang Xiao cut her off. "She'll be living here from now on." Su Ruwei's eyes widened. His words had clearly gone over her head. Liang Xiao continued, "Oh, right, I don't think we've been properly introduced, have we?" "Su Ruwei, Taodao's aunt, Jiang Ci," he said, wrapping an arm around my waist. "My wife." Su Ruwei left, her face ashen. Even as she walked away, she couldn't fathom how a kindergarten teacher had so easily won Liang Zhao's favor. That night, Liang Xiao applied medicine to my neck. He also gave me a gift. I opened the box. The chain was the one I used to wear around my neck, but the diamond ring was gone. In its place was a teardrop-shaped pendant made of amber, encasing a pale, grayish-white object. Sensing my confusion, Liang Xiao said, "It's the bone from my little finger. Darling, I broke this for you. I want you to remember it forever." With that, he tied it around my neck. His touch was gentle, yet his fingertips brushed against my skin, leaving a searing warmth. As the tree shadows danced outside the window, his voice continued, "There's a good day next month, let's get married." That wasn't a suggestion. I could feel the intense gaze of the person behind me, waiting for my response. I closed my eyes in despair. I knew this day would come from the moment I decided to return. Opening my eyes again, I tried to reason with him. "Then let Lin Yu go." Liang Xiao said nothing. I turned to look at him, adopting a pleading tone, "Please." Liang Xiao watched me quietly. A sudden storm raged outside. Raindrops as big as beans pelted against the floor-to-ceiling windows, and the sheer curtains billowed wildly high. After a long moment, he lowered his head. "Yao Yao, tell me you love me." "I love you," I answered without a moment's hesitation, yet he remained displeased, his brow deeply furrowed and his lips pressed into a thin, tight line. In the end, he only relented after planting a rough kiss on the corner of my mouth. Find a way to make him give up. I don't like others coveting what's mine. I hurriedly agreed. A week later, I returned to work at the kindergarten. Teacher Li asked with concern how I was recovering. During the days I stayed at Liang Zhao's place, I had taken leave, not knowing if I could return to work. I had claimed I was ill. I smiled and said I was completely better. Teacher Li said that was good, then proceeded to share some gossip she'd heard with me. "Did you know? Liang Taodao's father is getting remarried." Out of all the dads in the little Sakura class, Liang Taodao's father is the best looking and the wealthiest. I wonder who's so lucky. I lowered my eyes and said nothing. Just then, Liang Xiao walked over. He handed Teacher Li a box of wedding sweets and an invitation to his wedding. Teacher Li offered her congratulations, then looked at me and said, "Mr. Liang, aren't you going to invite Teacher Jiang?" Liang Xiao gave a slight smile, pulled me to his side, and intertwined his fingers with mine. "Of course she's going, she's the bride." Mr. Li was completely stunned. Not long ago, I had accepted Lin Yu's proposal amidst everyone's blessings. In just over 10 days, the groom had changed, and I had become someone else's bride. Rumors about me began to spread throughout the school. They said I was shameless and materialistic, that I had seduced a student's father to climb the social ladder and abandoned my long-term boyfriend. The other teachers started to distance themselves from me. Parents began to gossip and point fingers at me. Liang Zhao's mother somehow got wind of the news. The moment she saw me, she slapped me hard across the face. I never thought you were this kind of person. How long has it been since our Lin Yu went missing? And you're already planning to marry someone else. You betrayed Lin Yu. He must have been blind to have fallen for you. I kept my head down and said nothing. The rumors were growing more and more intense. Some parents had already complained to the principal, demanding that a teacher of questionable character like me be fired to prevent me from corrupting the children. The principal had no choice but to call me in for a talk. I expressed my understanding and offered my resignation. As I was packing my things and leaving the school gate, a child tugged at my sleeve, reluctant to let me go, but they were quickly pulled away by a parent, who warned them to stay far away from someone like me. The scene was just like one from many years ago. Liang Xiao drove everyone away from me, wanting me all to himself. I was alone again, it seemed. I had become his possession. I was wandering aimlessly, clutching a cardboard box, when Liang Xiao pulled up in his car to pick me up. He blocked my path, his brow furrowing as he saw my swollen, reddened face. Who did this? I had no choice but to lie and say I'd fallen. Liang Xiao, of course, didn't believe me. He called the kindergarten director to check the surveillance footage and found out it was Lin Yu's mother who had hit me. That old hag. Liang Zhao's gaze was dark and brooding. I pleaded with him not to pursue the matter. I had already dragged Lin Yu into this. I didn't want to harm the person he cared about most, too. He didn't respond, then instructed his assistant to withdraw the donation to the kindergarten. Not long after, the kindergarten principal came to visit, bearing gifts. Liang Xiao, naturally, did not receive him kindly. I can't stand a bunch of busybodies gossiping behind people's backs. Go back and tell those teachers and parents that I was the one who liked Jiang Xi first. I was the one who shamelessly pursued her, threatened to harm myself, and used every trick in the book to pressure her into agreeing. If I hear any more rumors, they'd better watch their tongues. The kindergarten director nodded repeatedly. After the director left, Liang Xiao came to my room to see me. Don't worry, there won't be any more gossip. I buried my face in my knees. Liang Xiao, when will you understand? The one who dragged me into this whirlpool was you all along. His hand, which had been stroking my hair, stilled. A few days later, I went back to my old home to move my things out. I happened to see Lin Yu standing at the entrance to my apartment building. His white t-shirt stood out starkly against the backdrop of the dilapidated tenement. It had been a while. His hair was longer, and he had a scruffy beard. The once clean-cut, handsome guy somehow looked years older. Liang Xiao sat in the driver's seat, tapping the steering wheel twice with his index finger. 10 minutes, get it sorted. I acknowledged him and got out of the car. Standing before Lin Yu, I held my spine ramrod straight, as if it might give way the moment I relaxed. Lin Yu's eyes lit up at the sight of me. He took 2 quick steps forward and pulled me into an embrace, catching a glimpse of the grim face in the car window. I shoved Lin Yu away. Don't do this, I'm getting married. Shoved aside, Lin Yu looked lost and on the verge of tears. He'd been back for a few days and must have already heard the news. His voice choked up as he said, "You're lying, right? How can that be? Didn't we promise to get married?" I stared in silence at the tips of my shoes. To this day, Lin Yu still doesn't know who ordered the kidnapping abroad. Lin Yu asked again, heartbroken. Why? I thought for a long time before finally coming up with a reason. When it rains, I don't want to ride on a bicycle anymore. Lin Yu froze. His gaze dropped away as his hand fell to his side. He had once seen Liang Xiao driving a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. He came to pick up Liang Taotao, and even the black umbrella he handed me was worth over 100,000. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a better life. After a moment's hesitation, he gave me one last, deep look, then turned and left. I dug my nails hard into my palm and went straight upstairs. There are a few pots of cornflowers on the balcony. They were a gift from Lin Yu. I had just arrived in the city then. A complete stranger in an unfamiliar place. I had my last 5,000 yuan tucked in my pocket, and even that was stolen. At my lowest point, I even spent 2 nights sleeping in a hospital lobby. It was Lin Yu who helped me. He helped me rent an apartment, sent out my resume, and encouraged me to build a good life, to look forward no matter what hardships I'd faced before. When he gave me the flowers, he said, "Cornflowers have a long blooming season and a resilient spirit, Xiao Ci. May you blossom just like this flower." My tears began to fall, one after another. During that time when I was filled with confusion and fear about the future, he was practically the only light that could warm me. A large hand gripped my shoulder, the sharp pain jolting me back to reality. "Yao Yao, "You've been wallowing in your sorrow for a bit too long," Liang Xiao said with displeasure. I hastily wiped away my tears and, pointing at the pot of cornflowers, said, "I'm taking it with me." 1 week before the wedding was to take place, Officer Su finally got in touch with me. 3 years ago, he was transferred to the border for undercover work and was just reassigned back the day before yesterday. During those 3 years away, he never gave up his covert investigation into the Liang family. He said he was sorry for putting me, a young woman, in such a dangerous situation. He also told me he had already gathered some evidence that could bring down the Liang family. He told me to stay calm and not do anything to tip them off. On the wedding day, he would round up the entire Liang family in one fell swoop. My hand holding the phone trembled slightly. The darkness passed. The cornflowers will finally bloom, right? Meanwhile, Liang Xiao has been busy with our wedding preparations. He says he wants to give me a grand ceremony, one I'll remember for the rest of my life. On the day of the wedding gown fitting, the housekeeper who raised Liang Xiao said that according to the custom of her hometown, the bride's round silk fan must be embroidered by the groom's own hand for the couple to have a long-lasting, happy, and harmonious marriage. Liang Xiao frowned upon hearing this. "That's so girly, only an idiot would do that." The housekeeper changed the subject, saying, "Perhaps it's not in fashion anymore." Meanwhile, I stood on the circular platform like a puppet. Being dressed in one outfit after another, I was absent-mindedly mulling over what Officer Su had said. The wedding day arrived soon enough. I changed into a champagne-colored shoha dress. After the makeup artist finished my makeup, she handed me a fan. It was a gilded round fan, intricately adorned with phoenixes and flowers. The phoenix embroidered on it was all crooked and lopsided, looking more like a battered wild duck. It suddenly dawned on me. I recalled how Liang Xiao had been shutting himself in his study right after work for days, with a few needle pricks still visible on his fingers, so he really had embroidered that round fan for me. Just then, Su Rue, whom I hadn't seen in a long while, walked in and dismissed everyone else. The moment the door closed, she pressed a handkerchief over my mouth. When I came to, I found myself in a car, with Lin Yu behind the wheel. I quickly asked what was going on. He said it was all arranged by Su Rue. I know now that Liang Xiao was the one who kidnapped me back then. "Xiaozi, you've been through so much for me all this time. My mother is in country H right now. Let's go and meet up with her immediately. Consider it our belated honeymoon." He freed one of his hands and gave mine a gentle squeeze. Her eyes sparkled, brimming with the joy of having regained what was lost. "Why is Su Rue helping us?" "She said she likes Liang Xiao, and no matter what, she won't give him up to you." I had a bad feeling this sudden, unexpected complication might interfere with Officer Su's plan, so I gave Officer Su a call. He said they were almost at the wedding venue. Only then did I feel a sense of relief. I leaned back in my seat and quietly watched Lin Yu beside me. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a beautiful halo across his face. It was breathtaking. I reached up, removed the necklace from my neck, the one containing Liang Zhao's pinky bone, opened the car window, and threw it out. It felt just like discarding those caged, wing-clipped, and utterly regrettable days. Everything is about to be settled. An hour and a half later, Lin Yu and I arrived at the airport, but the moment we stepped out of the car, we were surrounded by over a dozen men in black suits. "Lin Yu, where are you taking my wife?" A familiar voice rang out. I spun around in shock. And there stood Liang Xiao, not far away. He was dressed in a black suit, a blue cornflower pinned to his left lapel. He began walking towards us. With every step I took, my heart trembled. Instinctively, I reached for my phone to call the police. At that moment, a news bulletin was urgently broadcast on a billboard of a nearby building. On July 22nd, Officer Su Linya of the Bin City Public Security Bureau was tragically killed when his vehicle was involved in an unexpected accident while he was on duty. In that moment, my blood ran cold. Liang Xiao was safe and sound. He dragged me back to the hotel. It was well past midnight, and the ceremony venue was completely deserted. At that moment, the large screen behind them lit up. It was a live broadcast. In the dimly lit room, 3 or 4 burly men, wielding clubs as thick as a man's wrist, beat Lin Yu to the ground. My tears burst forth instantly, and I fell to my knees, begging Liang Xiao to spare him. Liang Zhao's eyes were half-lidded, his gaze icy to the core. "Yao Yao, why won't you just listen to me?" I'll listen. I'll do everything you say from now on. I won't go anywhere. Please, just make them stop. Liang Xiao, I'm begging you." Liang Xiao stared at me coldly. I don't know how much time passed before he helped me to my feet. He took my hand again and led me onto the stage, which was surrounded by flowers. We reached the end. He picked up the veil and placed it over my head, humming the wedding march. He slowly lifted my veil. "Yao Yao, say you'll marry me." I nodded and said yes. He kissed the tears on my face. "Be good, give me your hand." My hand was trembling uncontrollably when, at that moment, a piercing scream came from the big screen. He turned his head at the sound. Under the hail of blows, Lin Yu coughed up a mouthful of blood. His heart sank into an abyss. Liang Xiaozi tilted my head back into place. "Focus." I didn't dare let out a sob. Then, a diamond ring was slipped onto my ring finger. With a satisfied smile, Liang Xiao kissed the corner of my lips and said, "The ceremony is complete. This time, you are finally my wife." The day after the wedding, he said he was taking me to meet an old friend. The old friend he spoke of was Su Rue, the one who had arranged my escape. The moment I saw her again, I couldn't reconcile that horrifying, ghastly face with the radiantly beautiful woman she had been before. Liang Xiao sneered coldly. "Yao Yao, look, this is the price of betraying me." I couldn't help but turn away and retch. Liang Xiao gently stroked the back of my neck, still so easily frightened, with red-rimmed eyes. I asked him, "She's Taoda's aunt. After all, even for Taoda's sake, you can't jest." Liang Xiao smiled. "Silly. Who told you Liang Taotao was my biological child?" I was stunned. Liang Xiao continued. "Liang Taoda's birth mother was a hostess. I doubt even she knows for sure who the father is. The only reason I adopted her is because she was born on the day you faked your death, and she has the same beautiful eyes as you." A faint, almost imperceptible mist clouded his eyes, as if he were still lost in the grief of my past death, but it was quickly replaced by a fierce, ruthless glare. He gently touched my face and said, "My darling, let's have a child of our own. If they take after you, they'll surely be beautiful." I closed my eyes in despair. After that, I was locked away by Liang Xiao. His bedroom became my only permitted space. He forbade anyone from contacting me, demanding I remain his caged songbird, an ornament for his eyes alone, just as I had been 3 years ago. Only after my silences grew longer and my spirit visibly withered did he finally allow Liang Taotao into my room to keep me company and lift my mood. One day, Liang Taotao asked me, "Teacher Jiang, what does it mean, to die?" I asked her why she wanted to know. She said, "Brother Lin Yu is dead." I overheard Dad on the phone. He said if someone dies, they'll be thrown into the sea. Is the sea far away? When Brother Lin Yu comes back, can he bring Taotao a little crab, a sweet metallic taste rose in my throat, and then I blacked out. When I woke again, Liang Xiao was holding my hand, his face full of concern as he asked if I was feeling better. An hour later, the parents brought their children forward to submit their projects. Nan's gaze was so intense it felt like it could burn a hole right through his face. Instead, he kissed my forehead and whispered, "My dear, we're going to have a baby." Liang Xiao was over the moon. For me, however, it was utterly sickening news. Afterwards, Liang Xiao let me out of the room and allowed me to move around the villa, but insisted the household staff keep a 24-hour watch on me. He placed great importance on this child. We even cleared out a large room and set it up as a nursery, but deep down, I knew this child should never have been born, so I secretly asked Liang Taotao to bring me a lighter. On a certain night when Liang Xiao was away on business and Liang Taotao was also out, I set my own room ablaze. Since we, as mayflies, cannot shake the mighty tree, then let us strike at the villain's fatal weakness, even if the final blow must come from my own hand. As the fierce flames erupted, an indescribable sense of liberation washed over me. Within the inferno, I seemed to see Lin Yu's smiling face, his hand reaching out toward me. "Xiao Ci, come." After death, I became a transparent, spectral form. I saw with my own eyes Liang Xiao kneeling in the ashes, his eyes bloodshot. I told myself over and over that this was just like 3 years ago, nothing but my own cruel prank. He even tore up the coroner's report. That same year, the higher-ups launched a full investigation into Officer Su's death. The trail of evidence finally led to Liang Xiao. The once prosperous Liang family had finally fallen. On the day of his execution, Liang Xiao looked up at the sky. He murmured, "Now, we can meet again." With a final bang, all fell silent. The end.